Thanks for staying with us. So very recently, we saw a video that was quite disturbing of a little boy drinking, I think it's a Radler's beer bottle. Yeah, beer, I mean, yeah. And you're thinking to yourself, okay, why is this child? He's probably, what, 6 years old, you know, and then obviously someone that looked like a mother or a guardian and an adult, 2 adults were right behind him dancing. And I was shocked, personally. But then when I shared with other people, they would say, oh, certain parts of Nigeria, they give their children alcohol, it's normal. And I'm thinking, where was I? I never heard this. This is my first time. And I just think it's something we should have a conversation about, especially because lots of teenagers, so this young 6-year-old who grew up to be teenagers and then start all these vices. So there are more vices. You know, we have one, there's a sex tape that leaked recently. There's more of a ritual killing. You want to get rich because you want to sustain that lifestyle of the largesse, you know, drinking alcohol, the big houses, you know. So these are the foundations of some of what we see today. And sometimes if we don't talk about it and hear people's perspective on maybe on options and how to do it, we might not have a way forward. So let us hear your thoughts on this, and I'd like to hear the thoughts of the ladies. Where did we get it wrong, and how is it normal? Is it okay for children to have alcohol? I mean, I've never heard of it before. But let's I'd like to hear from this. If there's indeed a community in this country that gives children alcohol, I'd like to hear from you today. Kindly call the numbers on your screen, because it would be great to understand the rationale, the reasoning behind such act. Kindly call our usual numbers. It's on the screen. 081 270-53687, 091-390-76948. You can also tweet us at TVC, hashtag YourViewTVC. Send us messages on YouTube and Facebook. We'll be happy to read your messages.
Obviously, it is wrong for children to take alcohol. And I think that people don't understand. So let's just first start by the fact that let's educate people. Why is it wrong for you as a child or for you to allow children to take alcohol? Because I've been in a party where someone drinking alcohol and a child comes and wants to take the drink, the canned drink, and I say, oh, let him take a sip. And the reaction was, hello, this is not a sign of showing love.
To the child.
The research has it that it can damage a child's internal organ, brain development, if they are exposed to alcohol when they are small. If a pregnant woman that drinks alcohol would definitely affect the child's development space and brain capacity. So it is not a sentimental or marketing gimmick. Children shouldn't take alcohol. That's it.
So let me just go to your basic Google. You know, it tells you that alcohol is a depressant that affects the brain by causing the brain to slow down. Alcohol can affect your child's brain, which continues development into the early 20s. Alcohol can negatively impact on your child's problem-solving skills and performance at school. And it says that alcohol depresses the central nervous system and causes low blood glucose. Children who drink alcohol can have seizures, coma, and even die.
Let me add, because you also talked about all the other things that are happening around us right now with young children. They say if a young child drinks alcohol, they're more likely to be involved in violence, suicidal thoughts and attempts, more sexual partners, pregnancy, using drugs, employment problems, and drunk driving. So there is a reason for some of the things that we're seeing today. Things that we looked away, we thought it was funny, oh, that's how our people do it. And then today we're screaming and shouting, where are these people from? Who raised them? You raised them.
Yes.
And you raised them like that. So I don't know what part of our country encourages alcohol drinking and drinking it like that. I know some cultures, they have maybe they put a finger in the alcohol and put a little tip. I don't know where they give them a whole bottle to be drinking in the presence of everybody. You're taking a video. So I'm calling out the adults that were in that place. There's the woman dancing beside him who may have been his mom or a guardian. There's another woman that joined her. And then the person taking the video. I know it was good to sort of highlight what was happening, but at any point in time, did that person call out the mom?
Or take the alcohol?
Take that alcohol from, well, maybe you're not allowed to talk to the child directly. Call the person in charge of that child and say, this is wrong. Your child should not be taking alcohol. And there should be a right for an adult to even take alcohol away from a child. I mean, it was so shocking. That child was drinking it with...
And dancing.
Relish, and had a jury. Remember, he had a big jury.
Yes, he had lots of bling. So you have models your child around adult entertainers and that we see, American entertainers that we see, your baby that has a lot more to do with his life, his brain that he's supposed to use to get
Did you even take note of the big chain the young boy was
wearing? That's
what
we're saying.
Yes, dressed like one of these Americans. So let me hinge this on ignorance and a lack of understanding.
Absolutely.
However, whether you are ignorant or not, you will still be judged for your actions. And every action has its consequences.
Yeah.
The villages that I know growing up that they used to give, the children a little bit of alcohol. It's not like they allow them drink bottles, but they just, it's a way of life for that particular area. Just, put a drop in the child. They are doing it because they do not have the understanding of the effects of alcoholism and alcohol. We see how adults behave when they are drunk. When you drink, your senses are suspended. A lot of things can happen to you, you are not aware. You allow a lot of things happen to you and you are not aware. Do we want our children to suspend their senses when they are supposed to be developing those senses? So these are some of the critical questions we need to ask. And also, it's on us. I like the fact that we're discussing this topic today for people who are not aware to become aware. But it's also on us to, look out for each other. Society to look out for each other. Those days, growing up, if you misbehave as a child, a neighbor will pick you up, cane you very well, and drag you home. They will be asking, Onye Mungonye. That means, who gave birth to this child? They will not allow you misbehave outside and bring shame to your parents. But right now, we just pick a video, a phone, and then we video and we post on social media. I think we as a society, we need to do more because a lot of these people do not understand the long-term effects of what they are doing. Some of the things we even eat today has a long-term effect on our body. When we begin to pass this message that alcohol is not for children, it's not even for teenagers. Till you become an adult, you are responsible for yourself. Then you choose whether you want to drink or not drink, and you know how you want to drink it. Yes. But if we allow in the name of enjoyment, because that party seemed like everybody was grooving, the adults beside looks like the mother actually, and she was just dancing and the boy was just having fun. In their mind, we have enjoyed today. That is wrong.
You see, I looked at this child, cute, chubby boy. I'm thinking to myself, this boy will now grow up. No fault of his.
Yes.
He didn't ask to come to this country, this world. This little cute boy, he's now drinking beer, and he's going to be growing up, become a teenager.
Yes.
And he's going to see alcohol as an important thing to show to show fun and excitement. I've arrived.
Having fun.
And I'm feeling bad for the child. I'm thinking, oh my God.
Morayo, we do something. Whenever we see a good act, we make it go viral. We search for the
good or bad
person. When we see a good act, we make it go viral. There's a video that went viral of someone that was giving, the hawker that was giving money to people in the Black Maria. And they found the man. We've seen many times that they say, we must find this girl. We must find this girl. You see this woman, we saw her face clearly. We must find this woman. We must find this woman. We must find this woman. And it's not just about educating her. It's about making her an example. Because when we don't chastise what is wrong, this child is your citizen, is a citizen of Nigeria. It will either become a problem or a solution to Nigeria in the future. So Nigeria needs to take responsibility for its children by ensuring parents don't use their own ignorance to raise crisis for children.
I was hoping that child wasn't Nigerian. I thought it wasn't Nigeria. I was really hoping that when the music, but it was Nigerian music. But they play Nigerian music everywhere in the world. So it may not be Nigerian.
Niger boy.
I really don't think so.
But you can marry a Nigerian. He's a human child. So we don't even want any child.
No, but when you said about Nigerian child, maybe they're not like that. They're not like that.
No, we are.
Let's go to
There are other videos.
Come back. We'd like to take some phone calls and messages. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Thanks for staying with us. So we're still discussing this issue that is quite bothersome. And the reason why we're talking about it is because we need clarity. We need to educate each other, as BC had said. If we have ignorant people out there, we're hoping that this show can open the minds and hearts of people. Let's take a few messages before we continue.
Okay, so Temi Tokbe says, this is absolutely wrong for a young child. God, where are we going? Corey Williams says, I beg, they should leave the parents. The parent knows what she's doing. Oluwatimileyin says, this is what minding your business has caused. Simon Rose says, so nothing doers by the grace of God. But now I don't even go near it. Wisdom is profitable. That's alcohol. Margaret Pell says, there is a condition called alcohol fetal syndrome. And this can be further compounded by psychosis, delusion, and depression. best to avoid alcohol when pregnant, please.
Okay, so I think, was it Nima that says it all the time, that all these don't mind your business is what got us to where we are, where everybody just doesn't want to intrude. Let me take Dr. Moyo. Dr. Moyo, are you there? Hello, Dr. Moyo, you're live. Hello, Dr. Moyo. I think we're having connection issues. I mean, I've always shared this story, and I've always...
Hello?
Yeah, Dr. Moyo, go ahead, please. You're live.
Hello?
We can hear you.
I can't hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes, we can
Hello?
hear you.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you very clearly.
Morayo? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hello?
Oh,
All right, so as I said, I mean, I have shared this story where I said I came out from my job shed then many years ago, and I had very long braids. I was feeling like I was 8 years old. 8. I had this very, they touched my bum, and I was feeling very, very pretty, fly, you know? And I showed my mom. My mom was looking at me. She was suspicious. She was just wondering, why would you come home with this? But because I was with my dad and my stepmom and everything, she didn't say anything. So I went to my neighbor's house, Mrs. Adeshokon. I'll never forget that day. I went and I was excited to go and show her my long hair. She looked at me. She didn't even smile. She was going to get a pair of scissors and cut it. I had lipstick on. She cleaned it off. Are you okay? You're 8 years old.
what are you doing?
But so I went back to my other house, my mom, to go and see my mom. My mom was like, hey, good for you. Good for you. Because she felt good that she didn't do it, but she knew that somebody helped her to do it. So, because then at that time, we can actually see a child do wrong and kind of, not that braids are wrong, but it's just the perspective like this. You're young. It's too early. Start thinking of fashion and love your long hair. You don't need it. It's not a bad thing. There's time for everything.
Yeah, so Morayo, what I notice is that children are actually curious about alcohol if you drink it in their presence.
Yeah.
They ask you questions like, Mommy, why are you drinking this?
Yeah.
What's in this? Why don't you want me to drink this? Now, the thing is, how do you now have a conversation with that child to explain that this is not for you? So what I do is I try to say, there's time for everything.
Absolutely.
You're still a child. There are certain things that I cannot let you do right now. You see how you behave when you drink, take a lot of sweet drinks, sugar. Sugar gets you high. And my children are naturally high. Their mother is naturally high. I don't need anything to make me high. Just wake up and I'm high. And I just imagine adding alcohol on top of my natural highness. That's crazy. So I try to explain to them. We sit down and have conversations. And then they ask me questions like, okay, what age should I start drinking alcohol? I say, what's the rush? Why do you want to start now? When you become an adult, you can take charge of your life. Then you decide if you want it or not. And you know that there are some uncles and aunties who do not even take it at all. So we need to constantly have these conversations, because if you do not have it and explain to them the side effects of this alcohol, they will go out. You don't know where they are going to most of the time. They could start having it and hiding the bottles. And do not send them to return the bottles for you. If you have visitors over and they have alcohol, they can drain it. They can
let me take this call from Uju. Uju, are you there? Hello, Uju from Enugu. I think our phone lines have issues today. Good morning, Uju. Are you there? Okay, go ahead, Tope.
I also think that another approach to take towards this is to help children understand that it is not you not giving them those privileges, it's to protect them. And I've said this several times, that no matter how much you love your child, you will not carry the key to your car and give to your child to drive. It's not about love. It's about protecting that child. That's the same way it is with alcohol. If you give your child alcohol, you're not protecting the child's future. You're not protecting the child's capacity to think and become a productive adult. Now, as a society, we definitely have evolved from the culture of taking ownership of everybody's child around us. And that's why we must, as intelligent adults, start building our own unique tribe. So I know I can correct BC's children. I know BC will correct my children. I know Brian will correct my children. I don't have any. And I must ensure that I keep my children in that circle. As much as possible, I can only advise another person's parents, but I can't correct another person's child. We no longer live in that society. So we must now create that ecosystem for our own people, so that the influence that your child is absorbing from other people around you will be less. It will be more of your kind of values.
So BC mentioned ignorance, which I think is very, very important, because sometimes ignorance is why we do certain things. the reason why somebody drinks concoction, or all these funny concoctions, they put all sorts of things there and you gulp it down in your mind. Once I drink it, I feel strong, I feel healthy. But you don't know what the damage it's doing to your liver. You don't know the long-term effects to have on your kidneys. So this is time for us to re-educate people. You put stuff in you, and you don't know for you, yes, it makes you high, it makes you happy. In fact, your malaria disappears immediately. But the side effects of that, we're not talking about it. So sometimes we need a graphic representation of what it actually does to a child's system. Because what I read here was quite scary. The child totally, I mean, let me even find it. It totally affects the nervous system. And that in itself is something that any parent would be worried about.
Yeah, and it's, you know, apart from alcohol, there are so many other things that we do because of lack of education and just not being enlightened or exposed. You find some people, especially parents, who, when they were growing up, it was tough for them. They grew up, let's say they grew up poor, and all of a sudden, you know, not all of a sudden, but as adults, they've worked hard and they've earned a lot of money, and they want to give their children all that they did not have when they were growing up. And we now have children who are obese. We have children who are allowed to eat everything and anything at any time. And it's to show that we have arrived. Look at us and see our children. You know, those are the things that sometimes we ask, do parents need a license for parenting? Like, you need to come to a parenting school so that you understand some of these things. Many parents, especially African parents, they do a good job of, you know, the moral side, the premarital sex, they'll teach you how to take care of a home. But things about your body, a lot of us don't know it. And so we pass on to our children habits and illnesses and sicknesses that, you know, they shouldn't be struggling with in their adulthood.
A child can finish. So let me give a graphic representation of what you just said. So you can afford a pack of pizza.
Yes.
You buy a full pack of pizza, and because you can afford 3 boxes of pizza, you have 3 children, you give each child a box of pizza.
Because for you, we have arrived now.
Because we can afford it. So each child takes 2 slices. You know, you can't finish it, you take it later. No, it's okay, it's yours, just take it. And give them a whole bottle of soft drink, and then they're happy, they feel good, and they get candy after that, and they get all sorts of things, and you feel like, yes, we can afford it.
So yesterday we had a doctor who came here and was talking about diabetes. And we find that in children now. The other day I went somewhere and there was this child struggling to keep up with the rest of the family, you know? And when they got to, it was a children's thing, and when they got there, he was eating all sorts of things. The mother was there, all the other siblings were eating the same thing, but they were not as his size. And the reason, maybe he has other things that he's dealing with internally, and that woman just needs someone to educate her. Yeah. She also needs to put herself in a position where she needs to understand more. So those things is, for me, in Nigeria, it has a lot to do with lack of exposure and education.
Let me take
I think that shows like this and conversations like this will go a long way.
We're going to bring in our guests in a moment just to shed more light on it. But let me take this call. Ibrahim, are you there?
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning. You're live. Go ahead, please.
Okay, I think why all this is happening is bad parenting. Let me put it that way. Because I remember while growing up, my father, as a person, he will tell you if a person is having alcohol in it, he's never going to use it. So his own was that if he can't drink an alcohol, so why should he be rubbing it on his body? So, and after all of us grew up being like that. Though after a while, he changed his mind and started using stuff that contains alcohol in it. But the fact there is this. If it has been made clear to this person that alcohol is not good for young people, then I think it should be okay for all of us to actually do good.
Thank you very much, Ibrahim. I mean, I've shared this story again, lots of this story. I've shared them several times. Where when I was growing up as a teenager and I started living with my brother's wife, she indoctrinated me into alcohol. She didn't want them to teach me outside how to drink alcohol. She taught me how to mix drinks.
How old were you?
I think I had just turned 21. I was 18 going on 19. Now, you don't get to drink until you're 21. That's the right age. But I was an adult 18. I just felt, listen, let me just show you. So she introduced me to Corona Extract, all the various things. I mean, and she even showed me how to sort of, at parties, you ask for the drink you want. Don't go and collect anybody's drink because they'll put something inside for you. So she told me exactly what to ask for. Ask for this little bit of vodka, a little bit of orange juice, you mix this, and that's your fine. She taught me various things. And when I went out, I was equipped, because I knew so much about alcohol, I wasn't, yes, there was a phase where you drink, you don't feel like you're cool, but you're able to stop because you got the information from your house. They didn't teach you out. You're not trying to prove a point to Mariam. In fact, you're teaching Mariam because you know. So nobody's going to tell you, they can't bamboozle you to come and take this because you have information. You have information. So that equipment helped me in alcohol.
That's why it's important that we have a child-to-parent relationship. You know, a lot of us grew up without having this one-on-one conversations with our parents. Our parents didn't know how to get us to talk about things. Till today, I've never sat down to discuss alcohol with my mom or sex or nothing. In fact, go and give your life to Christ. I know if she has her way, she'll tell me again, BC, you're doing too much. Go and, settle and all that. So for me, it's very important that you start having this conversation. So let your children understand that you are there as their friend. And it will be good that their first times for trying things like this is done with you, where you can have control and explain to them how to do it and how not to do it. How did I learn how to drink alcohol? I was in the university at the time, and then we heard stories of people going to parties, and then they'll spike their drinks, and then they have their way with them. The boys will have their way with them. Exactly. So we told ourselves, we're 3 in the room, we told ourselves we're going to buy alcohol today. We drink it and see how we act after we have taken it. Yes, know our threshold. Know if we can go out and drink or we stay away from it. And that was how we started drinking alcohol. And till today, I've never shared with my father the first time I ever had. He never even cared to ask me and all that. But our children are more curious right now. They want to know. And in the little conversations, even no matter how stupid it is, give them a listening ear so that when the big things come up, they'll be free enough to discuss with you. Mommy, when can I try this? When should I try this? And don't be that kind of parent that we had before that will shut those kind of things down and plead the blood of Jesus. That's not what will work for the children now. Leave the blood of Jesus alone first and focus on the conversation.
Don't leave the blood of Jesus.
Get help. No, not to shut them down from the conversation. Have it with them. Blood, they work in your own.
Let's go on a break. When we come back, we'll bring in somebody to help us shed more light on this. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Thanks for staying with us. So to join the conversation, we have with us a lawyer, mediator, pastor, former company secretary, mobile producer in Nigeria. He's with us, Mr. Yemi Akinsanya. Welcome to the show. I'll call Pastor Yemi Akinsanya. Welcome to the show, sir. Good to have you. So before you came on, we're talking about this really painful video that went viral recently, where a little child drinking alcohol, and the conversation morphed into, how to have conversation with children, how to parent better, what time to start talking about alcoholism. And I also like to juxtapose that with a recent viral video of, is it Catholic Bishop that was saying that alcohol isn't really bad, it's just you have to take it in moderation. I think it was recently, somebody said it recently. But the point is that raising children, parenting in these times where they are constantly being exposed to the worst vices. I mean, just yesterday, a video went viral. The young guy, sex tape was leaked, and you're thinking to yourself, what is this world turning to? So I hate to bombard you with so much, but I like to, where do we start from? How do we rewind and then, begin to repace ourselves?
It's a very difficult thing to speak about in even 3 hours. But I'll say this. The beginning is establishing authority. Establishing authority, establishing order in the home. And knowing when to start training children to recognize authority and order. I've often said to especially young parents that it's very disheartening when you come into a home and you visit them and you say, oh, please, can you put on the TV? They say, Junior has broken it. A Junior has done this. Or you look at the table is bare. Oh, they had to clear it because Junior, Junior is this. And I say to myself, the Junior is just about 3 years old. And at that time, Junior is already in control. It's already the authority. And that is where it starts. Children must be taught authority. I was told many years ago, I don't know if it's still true, but they said that, you watch all these wonderful Alsatian police dogs that are trained. And someone said to me that, do you know that the intelligence of that Alsatian dog is not higher than the intelligence of a 2-year-old child? And that tells me that a lot of parents, especially modern parents, grossly underestimate the intelligence of the children and the ability of the children to conform to training or to instruction. And we just end up bringing up children, first of all, we treat them like toys, we treat them like babies. And then, of course, in these modern days, when we are all so anglicized, so westernized, we think it's a great thing for us to ignore those boundaries. So I believe that first things first, in the home, the children, without compromise, must be introduced to order and authority.
Let's build on that in a minute, because establishing order and authority sometimes to a parent is spanking, being forceful. And what we learn from modern therapists and coaches that don't raise your voice at these children. Don't spank these children. You're better off having conversations with them. But how else can you establish authority without maybe speaking, raise spanking? Like, that's a traditional way.
You know, some friends of mine and I had this conversation recently, and we said, you know what? Take a survey of some of the some of the most successful men, some of the most successful women in society, especially at almost any age, and then ask them about their background. And you'll find that 90% of them will tell you how they were spanked, how their mothers spoke to them, how they learned to understand the mother's eye and the father's strength and things like that. And so I find that a lot of modern theories are misleading. Children are more intelligent than you give them credit for. Now, you can talk to a 10-year-old, you can talk to an 8-year-old, but you can't talk to a 2-year-old. They have the intelligence, but they have not acquired the skills to process, a lot of articulation. So what do? You teach them the same way as you train that Alsatian dog. You have to teach them to know that when this is good, you are rewarded. When that is bad, you get a little bit of pain to it. And that's why we use the word spanking, not beating. Spanking. Spanking is not beating. You don't have to be cruel and wicked, but you have to be consistent with your authority. Once the children understand in the house who is in charge, that they are not in charge. Now, a friend of mine many years ago said she called her daughters, although she was talking of preteens and teens, and she said, look, listen, I don't care what they tell you on Oprah. In this house, I am not your friend. I am your mother. And my word rules. Take it or leave it. So that is the first thing that needs to be done. Then, with that authority in place, the second thing is you have to live by example. You can't spend your time coming back late at 1 a.m. and, drinking in the house, and you yourself are getting drunk and tipsy. And a lot of young parents are like that. And the children are watching you. Remember, they have very malleable minds. It is important that parents themselves must model in front of their children the values that they want them to have. If you want your children to be prayerful, let them see you pray. If you want them to be drunks, they'll watch you being drunk. You may think they don't notice you're drunk, but they know. Remember, I said at the beginning, they're more intelligent
than we give them credit
for.
So let me ask this, because I've been seeing some videos on social media lately where, you mentioned how to train an Alsatian dog.
Yep.
There's this video I saw recently where a man was trying to model to the baby, his baby, I think about a 2-year-old, what he will do to him if he falls over instead of learning to calm down.
Okay.
So the baby was still learning to walk. And then he picked up a doll and threw the doll over and picked up a cane and showed the baby, if you come like this without coming like this, I will give this. He didn't say a word, he just demonstrated. And before we knew it, the baby struggled and found his way to calm down instead of just falling over. So that brings me to modeling, like you were talking about. Now, we understand that it's very difficult for especially modern parents who are trying to make a living to spend that much time with their children. And so you see people going out and coming back late, especially if the two parents are hustling and just trying to earn a living. How do we, place that alongside trying to raise these children with proper authority? How can a modern parent manage and balance it?
If I told you that it was not an issue, I would be insincere. But I believe that in every stage of life, in every stage in society, we have our challenges and we have to find our ways of meeting it. First of all, intrinsically, again, always like to go to the beginning, and I take the opportunity to say this. A lot of our native parents, a lot of our Nigerian parents now have taken to the practice of giving their children foreign names, you know. And, you know, it seems as if it's part of your civilization that, you know, oh, what's your daughter's name? Oh, Mandy. You know, and the moment that mentality is there, it affects you. Secondly, I want to say this. It's very tough because, I mean, life is hard. The economy is tough. But I believe that at the time children are being brought up, there has to be a measure of sacrifice. Gone are the days when they say it takes a village to raise a child. Now, we don't have that any longer. So somehow I believe that a father and a mother need to decide between them. They have to balance it. And that's why these days we can't afford to have 10 children any longer. We can't afford to have 7 children. In the days of our parents, if you had a family of 5, you're small. I mean, you're more than 7, we're 9. I mean, we had friends who were in homes of 11. But I think father and mother have to decide. You have to really plan it strategically. Who are you going to get? If you're going to find some older niece or nephew or someone whom you're going to look at, or who's going to come to the house, along with maybe your housemaid or whatever it is, you have to plan it. Someone or the other, whether the man or the woman, if you can't afford to do otherwise, someone has to agree to lower their career objectives, their career ambitions, because you can't leave the children to be brought up by a housemaid or a steward or whatever it is.
All right, let me go on a quick break. When we come back, we continue this conversation. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Thanks for staying with us. We still have our guests here with us. Tokwe, you had a question?
Yes, so one of the things that I've enjoyed this conversation with you. You mentioned authority, you mentioned order, you mentioned consistency and modeling right. And for some people watching right now, they already have kids that are like, they feel like they missed they've already missed that first few years. And there's that struggle on how can I undo the damage? How can I correct the situation?
Well, first of all, it is never too late. It is never too late. Once you know where you've missed it, start from scratch. Don't apologize for it, because the moment you apologize for it, you're saying, I've done something bad. Then the other person feels a reason to either judge you or condemn you or not accept. But if you know what is right, start doing what is right and stop doing what is wrong. And above all, when you have begun to do that with the children, sometimes have the humility to even say to a child, you know, I allowed you to do this, but you know, I now realize that maybe that wasn't the best thing for you. And the child will say, why? And you tell them candidly. The thing is that you must be able to speak to children with sincerity, tell them the truth. Especially modern children, they are being exposed to a lot more information, more ideas. Many things are happening, and they know things. So don't try to speak in parables to them. Don't try to gloss over
Let me use an
things.
example. Miriam, I'll come to you. For example, a child, maybe a 14-year-old child is using drugs, you know, and you're a father, you feel like, okay, maybe I should have done something better. How do you retrace your steps based on what you just said? Like, okay, I have messed up. I didn't pay attention. I was working all over the place.
Just found out that
now you're in drugs. You're an addict, and the child doesn't want to listen to you. Where do we start from? How do you then retrace your steps to help that child?
Well, you say, how do you retrace your steps? I think it's really more about how do you help that child.
Yeah, because
That's it. And the first thing is to understand that there are 2 levels of helping that child. Let me start with the second level. If the child is addicted, it's probably the kind of thing that requires professional help.
Yeah.
And there are people who are trained to deal with that. Yeah. But from a parental friend point of view, the first thing first is to try to find out from that child without judging. Why are you doing this? What does it give to you? And don't make it center around you. How can you do this with all I've done for you? The way I brought you here, how can you do this to me? Don't let it be about you. Let it be about the child. Try to understand the child. Oh, how do you do this? Why do you take it? What does it do for you? Really? Tell me a little bit more. So, let the child feel secure and safe to speak with you. It's important.
Talking about being secure and safe to speak to you, that's why I would say I'm a big advocate for parents being friends. I used to think like you said earlier, where you say to a child, I'm your mother, I'm not your friend. But, you know, raising my children, a 10-year-old and a 7-year-old, I realized that friendship is also important, that there are some messages I can only relay as a friend. And I'm asking this because I know that, you know, maybe old school or the way we used to see things may be a bit different right now. I feel that there are some things I can tell my child, I can insist as a mother at a certain age, but for a 10-year-old, there are things, that conversations we have because we are friends. He opens up to me about things and I can address them.
I'll give you a life example of being friends and being in authority. When I was in secondary school, I was a school prefect. I was in charge of religious services. And my duty was to take attendance at the Sunday service and to mete out discipline to those who were absent. And sometimes the people who were absent, especially the very senior boys, some of them were my friends. And I told them we're friends, but I have a duty to do. That's what I'm saying with parents as well. Be their friend, but let them still know
who's in charge.
You are in charge. That must never be brought. They need it. Because helping them to deal with authority at home also prepares them to handle authority outside of the home.
Yeah.
Let them be your friend in the sense that they can confide in you. And one of the ways in confiding I learned one thing, and I always share this with a lot of my younger friends. I thank God, and I say that without being unduly sanctimonious, I thank God that I've learned to listen to my children say anything to me without expressing any shock. No shock. Really? Oh, you did that? Okay. But you know,
Which is very typical.
How can you, I heard something like blood of Jesus, Holy Ghost fire. The moment you do that, the child clamps up and goes out. But I learned to listen. I used to say to my people, I like to sit down with them, watch what they're watching. I don't put up the TV. I don't try to, I watch what they're watching. I see what they're doing, and we can talk about it. And after a while, they learn to look to you for guidance. So, Dad, what do you think? Are you sure you're interested in what I think? That's my usual preface. Are you
do you have any regrets? Because, I mean, sometimes we new parents, we try to judge our parents like they did not, what they did was just forceful. They did not, we trained ourselves, like their techniques really did not work. It was just aggression all the way, But I would like to just hear your story. Would you say that your technique worked for you, and do you have any child regrets, in raising the kids in a certain way?
I know it sounds a bit ideal and a bit boastful, but I really have no regrets. And to a very large extent, I believe my children have been raised the way I was raised as well. The one difference, though, is that in the case of my own childhood, my father was not as hands-on and conversational with us in the early days. My mother covered that ground. But in my own experience as a parent, one thing that we've always had is we've always been very, very communicative with the children, hear what they say. I mean, I always tell people today that the only reason I got on Facebook was to make sure that I was part of Facebook, saw what they were going through, and discuss with them. And sometimes I'm the one who forwards to them some of the outrageous things. What do you think of this? And usually they tell you what they think, and they say, and so, Dad, what do you think? And like I said, my usual preface is, Do you want to hear what I think?
You really want to
Let me throw in this question, so because it's so sad that our society seems to be going more savage and more greedy and more, there's so much carnage, bloody, gruesomeness. And I sincerely worry for my children, you know. I worry about, I'm doing a good job, like I'm praying at night, parenting during the day, and then I'm going to release them into this
Society.
Like, we can't isolate them forever. So, as a society, beyond my individual parenting, what can we do to protect the next generation?
Being on television, which is very, very public, I am a little nervous to say one or two of the things that I want to say. I thank God for the development of the film industry in Nigeria and Nollywood and the rest of that. I'm very pleased with them. I've seen many things. But I believe that a lot of emphasis on the dark arts, the reintroduction of all the going to the native man and doing all sorts of magic, sensationalizing it and giving it a sense of, you know, attractiveness, has also, in my opinion, encouraged a lot of curiosity in society, a desire to try to explore those things. Let's go and find out, you know. You go to, you watch a Nollywood movie and somebody says, oh yes, something happens and two ladies are fighting, you know, everything through fire. You know, and these things are fictionalized, they are sensationalized, but at the same time, they plant seeds. So, however, I'll say this though, that if you build the right foundation, it gives the children a bit of buffer, insulation. So lay the foundation at home, let them know your values, pray with them, share your thoughts. Don't talk down to the children, talk to them, discuss with them, hear them, but I'll always emphasize this, don't ever lose your position and your authority as parent.
I think we can wrap up on that. Thank you very much. I like that. Don't ever lose your position. So you're not adverse to friendship,
no,
but not in this. But you must be friends with the authority.
With the authority
and order. Okay. Thank you very much, sir. It was a pleasure. We'll have to bring it back.
Yes.
I think there's a lot we can get with you, a full show with you, and take different aspects of life. It would be good because we like to hear from people like you who have passed this street that we are passing and teach us. Thank you so much, sir. It was a pleasure having you.
My pleasure.
On the show. Let's go on a break. When we come back, we'll continue with the show. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.